I know Tezzeret, Agent of Bolus, that's a card that you have a little bit of a background with.
Oh, absolutely. And this was the formula I used: 4 Tezzeret, 3 Jace the Mind Sculptor. I did have the 4th in the board, but this is a little bit different of approach. Instead of being kind of, instead of having more spells, I mean, he's got options to actually set up the Thopter Foundry combo with Sword of the Meek. He's got Transmute Artifact for additional Tezzeret-like action. And he has Big Tezzeret, Tezzeret the Seeker, for even more Tezzeret action.
Oh, wow, he does. Yeah, 4 Tezzeret Agent of Bolus, 2 Tezzeret the Seeker.
Absolutely. He's even got Staff of Nin. Staff of Nin, another artifact card drawer potentially, and a victory condition. The main thing he's looking to do, though, is just put out an army of artifacts and then bash his opponent with a Tezzeret or the other Tezzeret. Of note, Baleful Strix, 1/1 flying, Death Touch, draw a card, is an artifact creature, so works for both Tezzerets.
Yeah, can become a 5/5 and can be retrieved with Tezzerets. Kevin Gerhart is going to kick off the action here by suspending an Ancestral Visions on turn 1. He's playing Shardless Bug, of course, the only deck that actually plays Ancestral Vision. So
nowadays, if Jerry Thompson were here, he'd be rolling over in his grave at you saying such a thing.
That is true. That is true. Yeah. Some people just want to draw 3 the honest way, but Kevin Gerhart, he'll take suspending it on turn 1. What he really wants to do is play it for free off of a Shardless Agent.
The honest way, man. Dude, the honest way is drawing 3 and then putting 2 back.
That's
after saying the word 0 ability.
Okay. Oh, all right. Fair enough. I was gonna say Brainstorm. I'm not even sure Brainstorm can count as honest, but
yeah, but Jace the Mind Sculptor, definitely.
That's fair. All right. Kevin is Kevin playing Jace the Mind Sculptor? He is. He is playing 2. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So Kevin can in fact play honest, as it were. Kevin's going to cast a Hymn to Turok, and we're going to see the randomization.
I'm having
dance.
traumatic flashbacks to Gabriel Nassif.
Does he flip over 2 dragon? No. Okay. Just 2 lands.
I'm glad that they went with the 5th and the 6th card there with the 2 dice instead of doing the old add 'em together plan.
Yeah, that often doesn't add up. One dice is very much random. 2 dice not necessarily as random as one might think. And there is a friend of yours, Jace the Mind Sculptor, ready to play fair. And it looks like he is going digging. So we see a Force of Will. I don't think he actually has another. Oh, there he has the Baleful Strix. So has Force and a way to cast it. Although in this matchup, Force of Will not actually as important.
Yeah, I mean, in fact, a lot of people end up boarding out Force of Will in some of their decks against decks like Shardless Bug because of how attrition-y the game becomes when there's just not enough key spells. It really just comes down to if you consider Jace the Mind Sculptor to be too big of a threat, and if the possibility, if there's the possibility that you just don't have anything, anything else that you would want instead.
Yeah, probably the 2 Jace the Mind Sculptor, 2 Liliana of the Veil. Those are probably the 2 biggest targets in Kevin's deck for a Force of Will. The other primary target I would imagine would be that one that's sitting on the table right now, that Ancestral Vision. You don't necessarily want to 2-for-1 yourself. That's usually why people board Force of Will out. But trading 2 cards for 3 in this instance, that's a slightly better recipe.
Not even just 3. It's like a 6-card swing, right? Like they don't get 3 cards, and you do get 3 cards. So that's like +4 after you spend the 2. I do wonder though. At times like this, you start to wonder, why do people even play Force of Will? Why not just play Imp's Mischief? Redirect the Ancestral Visions.
We have to pay mana for Imp's Mischief, right?
That's true, but my goodness, you get to draw the 3 extra cards, man.
That would be helpful here. It would be less helpful in a situation.
You could play Misdirection.
You could.
If you're just really just all in on not actually paying mana.
Sure, well, and some do. The Sneak and Show decks of yesteryear, and actually, I didn't get a chance to look at Adam Johnson's deck list yesterday. Last round. He may very well have been playing some Misdirections. I know a lot of Sneak and Show decks do.
Oh yeah, and the Hypergenesis decks as well.
Now, in a deck like this, you're not necessarily looking to swerve a counterspell or something like that so much as you're looking to stop your opponent from doing something degenerate, in which case Misdirection doesn't always help you out there.
Dimir Signet coming down. Do you think we're going to see a Baleful Strix to hold off the other Baleful Strix?
With those 3 now in hand, I can't imagine why he would need to hold them. He wants to hold at least 1 potentially for that Force of Will, although he looks like he put the Force of Will back. It is there when he needs it, though, on top of his deck.
Baleful Strix is not a particularly realistic Magic card. I mean, this is one of the Commander products that they would certainly never print this in Standard, or probably would not print this in Standard. Its power level is a little out of control.
Yeah, I would think not. The power level kind of sneaks up on you. Anyone can look at it and think, well, this is a good value, but it doesn't really scream powerful so much as it just seems efficient.
Yeah.
But often in Magic, those two words are kind of the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, 1/1 Flying Death Touch. I mean, you wouldn't play it in Legacy, but that seems like a card that would cost blue-black. But then this just draws a card.
Kevin Gerhart going to see what is going on over there. Cast Thought sees 2 copies of Ensnaring Bridge, 2 Baleful Strixes, and that Thopter Foundry. So, Ensnaring Bridge is... It doesn't seem like a card that Kevin should care about, although he may not actually have a way to get rid of it.
Does he have Abrupt Decay?
He does have 4 Abrupt Decay. So that would essentially be it. If Peter were to actually stick one of these Ensnaring Bridges, Kevin could kind of find his back against the wall here.
There is the old Ancestral Visions U.
Oh,
and then attack,
all right.
you know?
Yeah, that's a thing. You're right.
But I would guess that the primary plan becomes Planeswalkers at that point.
Oh, yeah, I suppose he could still win with Jace. So, all right, yeah. He has actual removal for Ensnaring Bridge and an alternate win condition in the form of Jace the Mind Sculptor.
The big thing Peter, I think, is trying to set up here is getting that Thopter Sword online. You know, make a whole bunch of tokens.
Yeah, and he did lose the Thopter Foundry from his hand. He does have 1 additional copy. There are 2 in his main deck. So
the alternative, is, of course, is just start Tezzeretting, because, I mean, it would not take Tezzeret long to completely take over this game.
Yeah, that is very true. Those Baleful Strixes, for all the value they generate, and for all the good they do on defense against a big beater like a Tarmogoyf, they don't apply pressure very well. They don't get Planeswalkers off the board, which is often something that you need your threats to do.
Yep, 11 Planeswalkers. No, I guess that's only 9, because some of these Tezzerets are, just 2 Tezzeret, 3 Jace, 4 Tezzeret Agent of Bolas.
6 Tezzerets, yeah. That kind of harkens back to the days of Callblade Standard when 4 Jace just wasn't enough. You needed a couple of Jace Balerans as well.
Sure. Staff of Nin kind of serving as a backup Planeswalker.
Yeah, that's fair. A Planeswalker that your other Planeswalkers can fetch up.
And sometimes you just transmute Artifact and go get, go get something big.
Speaking of, Peter has found a transmute artifact. So the question now becomes, does he want to use it now, and what would he get with it? I'm not sure what the go-to artifact target is here.
Yeah, I mean, if he can't set up the combo, I think he doesn't really have a lot else he wants to do beyond he could potentially get a Strix if he wanted. He can get a Ratchet Bomb if he wants some utility. He could get more mana, but for the most part, it's mostly setting up the combo.
Sure. And as we saw there, we talked about earlier that Force of Will doesn't have a lot of good targets in this matchup, but Ancestral Vision certainly one of those good targets, and Peter agrees. He thinks that it is worth it for him to 2-for-1 himself to counter that first Ancestral Vision. Although, since we said that, there is now another one looming.
Absolutely. With more in the reserve. No, he's just got binders of Ancestral Visions.
Those Baleful Strixes are going to trade off. That leaves Peter without a convenient blocker for this Tarmogoyf now. So I said Baleful Strix not so good against opposing Planeswalkers. Tarmogoyf, on the other hand, fantastic in this situation.
Yeah. Nile Spellbound will slow it down a little bit, but really not all that much.
No, Nile Spellbomb does not remove the cards that are in Peter's graveyard, which include, at the very least, an artifact creature. So just eyeballing it, I would guess that Tarmogoyf is a 4/5 still. Yes, 4/5 in fact. 4/5, which is enough to get rid of that Jace. So the Jace is going to have to unsummon it, or alternately, Peter could try to protect it with that Ensnaring Bridge. And Peter contemplating his options here. He still has that Transmute artifact, so in addition to the 5 cards in hand, he has access to most of the artifacts in his library as well. It looks like he is going to bounce that Tarmogoyf to give himself a turn's breathing room. So there is the Sword of the Meek. That's one half of that combo.
Absolutely, and if he wanted, he could transmute right now and go get the other half.
Okay, and it does look like that's what he is going to do. Transmute Artifact is a card that sees very fringe play. It basically only sees play in this deck. But it's a very powerful effect. And so it looks like Kevin is now considering responses, but doesn't have any.
And he can safely sack the Sword of the Meek because once he activates the Thopter Foundry, using his 1 remaining mana, the Sword of the Meek will hop out of the graveyard into play on the token.
Now, does Peter have a mana floating here?
He does. He tapped his Ancient Tomb for the sword, and then an Island, an Underground Sea, and a Dimir Signet for the Transmute artifact. He needed blue, but he needed to get the Signet involved to make sure that he had a mana floating so that after this went down, he could actually make a Thopter.
Sure, and it looks like that is what he is going to do. Go ahead and get this combo rolling.
Peter
there.
pointing out that how he has the extra mana floating.
Sword of the Meek returns, thanks to the 1/1 Thopter that is entering play. If you have not seen this combo in action before, essentially, Peter has an apparatus in play that allows him to pay 1 mana to gain a life and make a 1/1 flyer.
And he can just do this ad nauseum.
As many times as he feels.
Yeah.
Which is often as much mana as he has.
This is a real difficult combo. I mean, Abrupt Decay does stop the Thopter Foundry, which is the second Thopter Foundry we've seen.
And those were the only 2 Thopter Foundries in his deck. So Peter cannot get one out of his library, but he does have access to 1 Academy Ruins. So if he finds that Academy Ruins, he has every draw step becomes a Thopter Foundry should he want it to be.
Yeah, and now keep in mind this: he is far from being out of victory conditions or whatever. With 9 Planeswalkers, he's got lots and lots of ways to just Planeswalker Kevin into next Tuesday.
Yeah, for sure. Peter's plan A has been broken up here, but Peter has contingencies for days here.
Yeah, and it's hard for somebody who has a Jace the Mind Sculptor in play to really be considered to be doing anything other than what should be their plan A. I mean, that's...
Which was the...
just using Jace.
Sure, the fair play, as you said at the start of the match.
Yeah, I'm still not 100% sure fair is the right word, but it's certainly play.
We're lowering and lowering the bar for what is considered a fair card drawing effect. We might be getting to divination by the end of the match.
Dude, divination is not bad.
Okay, divination may be unfair as well, actually.
Dude, I feel like Magic the Gathering might be at I don't know. I wonder if the world would be at a better place if divination was the high end of power level for a card draw instead of the low end.
Magic would be a very different game, certainly, if we just replaced Ancestral with divination in beta.
The Thopter gets in there for 2.
Sure. Yeah. We mentioned we have contingency plans. We have backup win conditions. 2/3 flyer is probably more like Plan D or Plan E at this point, but it is still a plan, and it is going to get in some damage. And for the second time this game, Peter is going to trade Force of Will plus another card for an Ancestral, and that's a backup Jace that he's losing, which is not completely insignificant. So yeah, Kevin, the Shardless Bug deck, kind of well known for just not running out of gas, and Peter's doing a pretty good job of kind of turning that on its head. Every opportunity Kevin has had to actually get ahead on cards, Peter has Force of Willed it. Kevin still has a decent grip there. It looks like 3 or 4 cards there. That is mostly by virtue of him not making a land drop for several turns. And Shardless Agent going to spin the wheel, hit Abrupt Decay, and take out that first Ensnaring Bridge. We know, and Kevin knows that Peter has another in his hand. Actually, wait.
He does not.
Yeah, Peter does not have a hand. Never mind.
Yeah, he was hiding it on top. You do know he has it, though.
Yeah, okay, there you go.
And it looks like Tezzeret's Jace's old rival Tezzeret is going to be making an appearance.
Okay. Interestingly, these Planeswalkers are protected by a blocker. Shardless Agent, a 2/2. Thopter with Sword of the Meek on it, a 2/3. So Peter going to set up Planeswalker advantage here and more or less start going nuts.
And he does put the Ensnaring Bridge on top, kind of a signal that he's going to play Tezzeret and plus Tezzeret. And he wants to make sure that he can hit something.
Sure. Now, if he finds something that he wants more than Ensnaring Bridge, he does lose access to it, although I don't know that he needs to especially value Ensnaring Bridge at this stage. He does know that Kevin still has that Tarmogoyf in his hand, though. And here comes Tezzeret, Agent of Bolas. And we suspect they likely actually, well, he did tap that Dimir Signet, so okay, looks like he is going to tick down.
Nice.
So there are some blockers for you. And we'll get that dice.
So
switched
Tezzeret
out.
is at 2?
Tezzeret should be at 2, in fact. Yeah, that's this board state will presumably be corrected shortly. Tezzeret should be at 2, and that is a 5/5 Dimir Signet. So we mentioned he already had 1 blocker for the Shardless Agent that was in play. It's kind of a backdoor method, but it's a little easy to forget that Tezzeret, Agent of Bolas, quite capable of protecting itself in the right shell. This is certainly a shell that is always going to have a random artifact or 2 sitting around. So Tezzeret jumps in, immediately makes a blocker, and now even this Tarmogoyf doesn't feel particularly threatening.
Yeah, we're talking about 23 artifacts here in the main deck. He's definitely not short on targets for Tezzeret.
Nope. I want to see the Staff of Nin in play. This is what I'm buckled in for.
Oh yeah, and when Tezzeret the Seeker starts untapping the Staff of Nin,
Yeah.
yeah. Bing, bing, bing.
Machine gunning things. Yeah, so Peter does, on his next turn, after making 1/5/5, Peter does uptick the Tezzeret, goes digging, and he did actually find that ensnaring bridge, it looks like. Although now he has the option of putting it back on top. Or casting it, for that matter. Okay, keeps it in hand. That signals to me that he wants it in play. And there we go. Now, that affects both players, so that does mean that his 5/5 Dimir Signet will not be attacking anytime soon.
Yeah, I think he's gonna just have to make do with a 20-point drain life next turn, or in 2 turns.
Yep. That seems like a reasonable plan to me. How many artifacts does he currently have in play? Just the 4, right?
He has a Thopter,
yeah.
a Sword of the Meek, a Dimir Signet, and an Ensnaring Bridge.
Mm-hmm.
He needs 3 more to be able to kill Kevin in 1 big drain.
Okay. And it looks like Abrupt Decay on Ensnaring Bridge yet again. So Peter gonna be thankful that he has these blockers back here. That
Oh, Kevin could kill the Jace.
he sends with all of his creatures. It looks like that's not what he is going to do, though.
Oh, no. The Shardless Agent is sick.
He just cast it and spun into Abrupt Decay.
Yeah, so now Peter could have his Dimir Signet eat the Shardless Agent and have the Thopter chump the Tarmogoyf.
Yeah, now Tarmogoyf a 5/6, so that extra point of toughness puts it ahead of the 5/5 Dimir Signet. Now, the other thing that Peter is considering here is he could double block the Tarmogoyf and get it off the board presumably at the expense of Jace. We don't know for sure where these creatures are attacking, but
Yeah, and it sounds like they are attacking Jace. So is it possible that Peter is willing to give up Jace? Every fiber of my being tells me no.
yeah, Jace a powerful magic card. Tarmogoyf a powerful card too. So it looks like that's
He doesn't even tax him with the Tarmogoyf. He could have just eaten the Tarmogoyf.
interesting.
Is this the okie doke? Now remember, he does get to attack now. He can attack with the Thopter, which knocks Kevin to 11.
Mm-hmm.
If he's got enough artifacts showing, he might just be thinking, "Oh, I just wanna dome him."
Yeah, now he also could actually make his 1/1 Thopter into a 5/5. I believe. I'm not positive on the wording of Tezzeret's.
Yeah, and it would end up actually doing 6 damage, thanks to the sword.
So has 11 on board that way. Could actually just make the sword itself a creature, in which case it would fall off of the Thopter. He'd have 11 on board that way too. So yeah, Peter does have some options here in terms of going on the counter-offensive. And looks like holding a semi-redundant Tezzeret. It's a different Tezzeret. He's holding a Tezzeret the Seeker. And again, the Tezzeret that he has in play can kind of impulse for artifacts, can take a look at the top 5 and see what he gets. Tezzeret the Seeker, on the other hand, can just go and get whatever artifact it wants.
Yeah, I mean, if he just really wanted to, he could go find another. Actually, both ensnaring bridges are gone.
Yes.
He only has the 2.
So, honestly, sort of starting to look like Peter's back's against the wall here. That, yeah, he does not have the 2 ensnaring bridges. He does not have access to the 2 ensnaring bridges. They're both in his graveyard. He does not have access to his 2 Thopter Foundries. Those are also both in his graveyard. So, even though he has a method in his hand of tutoring up any artifact from his library, there's not really one here that does anything significant, it doesn't look like.
Man, this sure is a second 5-power artifact creature and no defense for Tezzeret. But I guess Peter is on the Tezzeret let me upgrade you plan.
Okay, and that works. Kevin has creatures on board that are certainly lethal if they all get through. So the Tezzeret here can... Well, this Tezzeret can also untap both of his 5/5s.
Absolutely, which I think is going to be the play, because there isn't any particular artifact he's looking for right
Sure.
now. He might want Baleful Strix if he just is committed to having another blocker. But it's kind of nice to be threatening the overrun.
Yeah, well, and I think you actually... Yeah, if you search up another blocker like a Baleful Strix, you're exposing yourself to any removal on your 1/1 or your other 1/1. Kevin has this Tarmogoyf and the Shardless Agent in play. He also has a Creeping Tar Pit. The Creeping Tar Pit, there's nothing Peter can do about that one. That one could knock him to vert to 1, and then if either of his other 2 creatures get through, that's game over. So he, in effect, needs to have a blocker for both the Tarmogoyf and the Shardless Agent. And in that spot, you would much rather have 3 blockers than 2, even if you do have to give up on that card's worth of value.
So he does untap his 2 5/5s.
And Kevin now in a spot where he needs to find 2 removal spells. Although having said that, even if he does find the 2 removal spells, they would eat up his mana for the turn. He would not be able to activate Creeping Tar Pit. So his other option would be activate Tar Pit, attack, and block the 2 incoming 5/5s next turn with his other creatures, and hopefully buy the turn that way. It's somewhat likely that Peter, with access to the Tezzeret, can force through damage.
Yeah, I mean, on his next turn, he's threatening Overrun, which does that adds 5 more, that turns the Thopter into a 5/5, right?
Yeah, okay, so that would work. So Kevin, actually dead on board from what he can see. Needs to find an answer of some sort.
Well, yeah. Or at the very least, Kevin will be stuck chumping.
Kevin could play Liliana and force Peter to sacrifice one of his creatures. That would get rid of a Thopter, which isn't optimal, really. Yes, Kevin in a tough spot here. And taking his time, counting up, kind of playing different attacking and blocking scenarios out in his head.
Well, one possibility is just attack with the Creeping Tar Pit.
Sure.
Then you have 2 blockers. As long as you don't die in your next turn. Now, see here, he's got 3 blockers. As long as he just doesn't die, the Tar Pit's going to kill Peter next turn.
Yeah, all right. That third blocker, that helps a lot. When you only had 2 blockers, you were exposed to a lot of things, but So now, again, it is Peter that needs help. This has been a pretty swingy little end game here. It looked for a while like Peter had things locked up, but losing that Jace, that kind of put him in a hole, it seemed like.
Yeah, I mean, he might be stuck in a situation where he has to Tezzeret for like a Baleful Strix or something, just to try to draw a card to see if he can get something that does something, like Jace to bounce some, I guess Jace won't even save him from the Tar Pit. He doesn't really actually have any answers to the Tar Pit. He doesn't have the ability to gain any life or anything.
No.
I think in this spot, he just kind of got stuck with being a little hasty with his Tezzeret, and as a result, he doesn't actually have the game locked up.
Yeah, he needs to find a way to actually win the game this turn. If Kevin gets to untap, he can win more or less instantly with that Deathrite Shaman. If Peter somehow forces him to lose that Deathrite Shaman by blocking, then Kevin has the win on board anyway with that Creeping Tar Pit. So Peter's only out here is through aggression somehow.
Yeah, I mean, his only life gained in his deck is Tezzeret, Agent of Bolas, and Thopter Foundry. Tezzeret doesn't have that kind of time. The Thopter Foundry, the only way he'd be able to get it back is with Academy Ruins, which he does not have.
Now he could, he actually, if he had Tezzeret, Agent of Bolas, it would instantly win here, right? He can just immediately down ticket and drain Kevin for 8?
Oh, no. You have to tick up first. Yeah, Tezzeret's down ability is turning into a 5.
It's ultimate. Sorry. Okay.
Right. Yep. And then you're on a one-turn lag there, but
Okay.
in this spot, that's one turn Peter does not have.
Okay. So yeah, Peter cannot win with the cards in his hand then. So fetches up a Baleful Strix, digging for one more card, and I'm not sure what the out is he's playing to here.
I mean, Academy Ruins is the lets him make forward progress, where at least he could go. I mean, I don't know if he's got enough mana for this, but
Well, he doesn't have enough time. He needs another draw step, even if he.
Well, he still has the Tezzeret in his hand. Is there some way that the Tezzeret can find? I guess Tezzeret would put it on the bottom.
Yeah. The other issue is he is suddenly very much bottlenecked on mana. He is.
Well, no. If he Academy Ruins the Thopter Foundry and then draws it off of Tezzeret, he would need 4 for Tezzeret, 2 for Thopter Foundry, and 3 for Academy Ruins. So that's 9 mana, and then from there The problem is too much of his mana is Ancient Tombs.
Yes.
He can
no
longer
had
use.
Plenty of mana all game, thanks to those Ancient Tombs, which were slowly eating away at his life total, and could not activate them there and picks them up.
All right, so in the sideboard, Peter Zhang, playing the Tezzeret deck we were just watching, Peter Zhang has 2 Flusterstorm, 2 Toxic Deluge, 1 Damnation, 1 The Abyss, 1 Engineer Plague, 1 Trinisphere, 1 Lodestone Golem, 1 Helm of Obedience, 1 Ensnaring Bridge, 1 Relic of Progenitus, 1 Pithing Needle, 1 Ratchet Bomb, and 1 Grafdigger's Cage.
It's a lot of one-ofs, which makes perfect sense in a deck with Tezzeret the Seeker and Transmute Artifact to go and find them.
So, what do you think of The Abyss?
Well, the Abyss, it's a sweet card, and I think I like it here. It does not solve the tar pit problem, but
It's true.
yeah, Kevin does not have a lot of creatures, and he really is just trying to grind Peter out and kind of win on attrition, as you said. And the Abyss completely takes that game plan away at relatively no cost for Peter.
I imagine we'll see Pithing Needle as a potential answer to Creeping Tar Pit, of course, but also possibly if things go awry with Deathrite Shaman, Liliana, Jace, anything like that, it's kind of a backup plan.
Sure. Yeah, it kind of looks like Peter's just going to be kind of fine-tuning his answers. I don't see any real game breakers.
Yeah, there is the question of, does he bring in some of the wraths, like Toxic Deluge and Damnation?
Oh, sure. This is not a matchup where I would think, he was obviously not including sweepers in his sideboard with this matchup in mind, but it may be a matchup where it's worth considering. This is also a deck where he probably has main deck slots that he doesn't necessarily need anymore. I don't know if this deck wants all 4 of its chalices in this matchup, but it may still, and it probably does not want. It may not want the Staff of Nin either. Kind of hard to say, actually. Those Ensnaring Bridges, they actually would have helped a lot in game 1, but they don't feel necessary in this matchup either. Kevin Gerhart, on the other hand, his sideboard contains 2 Thoughtseize, 2 Flusterstorm, 2 Duress, 1 Disfigure, 2 Golgari Charm, 3 Nile Spellbomb, 2 Toxic Deluge, and 1 Notion Thief.
Nice.
So that Notion Thief, that's probably coming in. Always got to punish the Jaces where you see them. Other than that, these are.
See, I don't know. He doesn't even have Brainstorm. Like when you're playing Notion Thief, I think you can't just count on them having a Jace. I think, yes, that is the best case scenario, but it's I don't know. Maybe it's also good just because of the possibility of surprise attacking a Planeswalker.
Yeah.
But I think that there's so little actual card draw in this Tezzeret deck because of both Tezzeret's abilities dodging it, that I think that he may be hesitant for such an expensive trick as Notion Thief.
Okay, that's fair. Again,
but if he gets it, it'll be sweet. If he pulls it off.
He doesn't actually know Peter 75. He doesn't know, for example,
that Peter is insane and not playing Brainstorm.
Not playing Brainstorm. Only playing 4-drop Brainstorm. Peter has 4 Baleful Strix as well that he could turn off. But other than that, I'm not sure that Kevin. There are Duresses, 2 Duress, 2 Thoughtseize. Those probably help. Other than that, I don't know that he brings in anything here.
Fair enough.
And Kevin going to lead off with Deathrite Shaman. Peter leads off with Urborg, Tomb of Yawgmoth, but doesn't get to keep it for very long. And Kevin quickly going to go to work here. Now that he has the Deathrite Shaman in play, he can cast a 2-drop. The 2 big ones he would have access to would be Tarmogoyf and Baleful Strix, so I suspect that's what we're going to see here. Nope, just going to leave with the Thoughtseize. sees a hand full of action, but no land, it looks like. So
Wow.
that's two copies of Tezzeret the Seeker, two mana rocks. That's a talisman of dominance, I want to say, and
Dimir Signet?
a Dimir Signet, and then two Baleful Strixes and a Chalice of the Void rounding it out.
Wow, good call on the Wasteland.
Yeah, that Wasteland, although to be honest, Peter needed help regardless. It's kind of interesting to read here, like, maybe you just have no other action and you just Wasteland here 100% of the time, no matter what. But when my opponent leads with a land like Urborg, alarm bells kind of go off for me. Generally, if someone has 3-4 lands in hand, they're not stressed in any way in terms of how they're going to deploy their mana. They'll lead with a more consistent land first. If he has Underground Sea, he'll play it. He's not going to play the land that potentially turns on Kevin's lands unless that's his only land. You see that sometimes with if someone in playing like Malira Pod in Modern, for example, their first land is a Gavany Township. That usually sends off kind of some alarm bells to me as well.
But we see here Peter drawing. Oh, wow. And because Peter did not fetch first, he's not going to get a chance to use his Dimir Signet.
Ouch.
Which means he's not going to be able to play his Baleful Strix. Smart play by Kevin Gerhart.
Okay, Kevin indicates City of Traders, but that is actually not how City of Traders works. The City of Traders triggers when Peter plays a land, which means it has to actually be played from his hand. It does not trigger when a land is fetched up.
Yeah, that makes sense. In opposite land.
Templating has come a long way since 1998.
Another Deathrite Shaman enters the field.
These Deathrite Shamans, a pretty reasonable clock here, and it looks like Peter actually going to get his mana online after all. Has access to blue and black mana now, so could play some Baleful Strixes if he cares to, but he's going to take the opportunity for a 2-for-1 first to get these Deathrite Shamans off the table.
Yeah, and the Deathrite Shaman is somewhat disruptive in that it puts pressure on both his life total and Planeswalkers. Mm-hmm. But Deathrite Shaman doesn't really interact with the whole artifact graveyard shenanigans. One of the few types of cards the Deathrite Shaman's got nothing to say about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's actually Deathrite Shaman. The decks that play it in Legacy, often you see them skimping on graveyard hate other than Deathrite Shaman. They kind of lean on it as a crutch there. In this case, Kevin actually has 3 Nile Spellbombs in his board anyway. And I didn't think about that. He didn't see Ancient Tomb, not Ancient Tomb, Academy Ruins, but he has to suspect it's there.
Well, and the Thopter, I think the Thopter Sword combo at all is something that,
sure.
that he may want to try to break up. It's hard to do so because you can keep popping the sword out. So a Nile Spellbomb's not going to be able to hit it very easily.
Yeah, but actually bringing Graveyard Hate against the Thopter Sword combo, not very reliable unless it is something that just keeps cards from entering the graveyard, period.
Yeah, obviously, like Rest in Peace,
yeah, Rest in Peace, Leyline of the Void, those will do it, but something that targets, you got to catch them with their pants down. They got to be tapped out if you're going to get rid of it.
Yeah, Surgical Extraction, the more popular choice, but Extirpate for all the old school players who really just want to catch them with their pants down.
And looks like the Baleful Strix is going to show up. That doesn't necessarily protect Peter from the threats that Kevin actually has in play. It can't block the Creeping Tar Pit. And, of course, the Deathrite Shaman's fully capable of shocking Peter over and under and around that blocker.
Yeah, and he's actually at a surprisingly low life total. I mean, he's at lower than it looks. He's actually on a 2-turn clock now.
Yeah, Peter really, really needed that Ratchet Bomb to work. Ratchet Bomb plan to work. If he had gotten to keep it for a single turn, then he would have cleared away the Deathrite Shamans and would have been in fine shape here.
So it looks like he is a mana short of being able to do the extra 2 this turn. Mm-hmm. But 2 from the Shaman knocks Peter to 7, which means he has exactly enough if he draws a land next turn.
He actually has one in hand, it looks like. So
yeah, so he's done the math.
Yeah, Peter does need help. I believe, I do see an Ensnaring Bridge there, but Peter's hand full of goodies. So the Ensnaring Bridge, kind of a 2-card combo with itself. You need to get it in play, and you also need to establish the correct game state for it to function. So even though he could cast the Ensnaring Bridge, I don't see any way for him to empty his hand out in time to just turn off that Creeping Tar Pit.
And it's tough because those Deathrite Shamans would finish the job real fast anyway.
Yeah, they would. This would be, Peter on a 3-turn clock to just the Deathrite Shamans. And if he takes any damage from, for example, that Talisman, that puts it down to a 2-turn clock. So yeah, Peter very much in a tough spot here. I'm not sure what, he has access to Tezzeret the Seeker, but I'm not sure what artifact he could fetch out that helps him here.
Graveyard Hate would help in terms of just being able to get rid of some of the possible targets for the 2 points of damage from Deathrite Shaman.
That's fair. Although, of course, the Deathrite Shamans can, they can target cards from both graveyards. So
Definitely.
He could have fetched up Nile Spellbomb and held it to respond to a Deathrite Shaman activation. That buys him a turn. But of course, the other Deathrite Shaman can then target a card from a different graveyard.
Offers the hand, and that is the game. Kevin Gerhart wins 2-0 over Peter Zhang. We see Shardless Bug victorious over Tezzeret. You know what, Tezzeret, you're still all right with me. Pretty impressive stuff. I mean, Shardless